Welcome to the Late Night Geek, the talk show style podcast about all things pop culture and geeky. I am your host, Jake T. Aria, and we have a wonderful show for you this week. We're going to be talking about everything from the Avatar live action series to Funko Pops, and we have a special guest by the name of Camtoonist. So without further ado, let's get started. Apple has just released their new VR headset called the Apple Vision Pro. Now, this headset is not just VR, but also AR. AR stands for augmented reality, which incorporates virtual elements into your real-world environment around you. This allows you to see the real world through the goggles, which has emboldened people to wear them just about everywhere. People are eating out at dinner together wearing these things. People are walking around in broad daylight wearing this ski goggle looking monstrosity and even driving their cars. It is a wonder no one has been killed yet with the way people are acting with this new Apple Vision Pro. However, there is an upside to the mugger community because now they know exactly who to target. Oh yeah, you're wearing $3,500 on your face right now? Well, first of all, you don't have peripheral vision and I know your wallet is full of cash. I have honestly never seen something more absurd in my life than what is going on with the Apple Vision Pro, because it is very clearly a very elite luxury item. It costs 8 times more than its leading competitor, which is the Quest 3, which, by the way, does all the same stuff. And it's basically just another way for Apple users to feel superior and better than everyone else. Hashtag Android all day, every day. The beloved video game Borderlands is getting a live-action film adaptation, and the cast is absolutely stacked. You have Kevin Hart, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Cate Blanchett all in a film together. That is a dream cast I never thought I would see. But the most surprising part is that Jack Black will be playing the beloved video game franchise icon Claptrap. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jack Black playing Claptrap, that seems like a match made in heaven. But I'm just shocked that it's a voice acting role that didn't go to Chris Pratt. I'd still watch it. I love me some Chris Pratt. But seriously, Chris Pratt has been everywhere these days. It seems like every time a beloved character is coming to life in a film, Chris Pratt is being cast as the voice. You have the Lego Movie, Super Mario Brothers, and now Garfield. Now that is honestly really weird casting. I am a huge fan of Chris Pratt. I will see anything he is in, whether it is good or it is bad. But is his voice really the best match for the lazy, grumpy orange tabby? I don't think so, especially with Bill Murray still being alive, or heck, even Nick Offerman would have been a better cast. And hey, it's still Parks and Rec. I think the only person who is in more animated movies right now than Chris Pratt is Awkwafina. I seriously have not seen a voice actor heavy film yet that does not have her in the cast. But much like Chris Pratt, I'm a big fan of Awkwafina, so I'm not really complaining about that. Another IP getting the live-action treatment is the beloved Disney film Lilo and Stitch. Now, recently, some behind-the-scenes videos of the set in Hawaii have been leaked, and it has shown what Stitch will look like. And I know what you're probably thinking. He's a CG character. How on earth are we going to know what he looks like from set video? Well, that's because there was a plush stand-in for Stitch. And this isn't just any old stuffed animal. This is going to be an accurate physical representation of what Stitch is going to look like because they use this for the CG model. When they are filming on set and they have a fully CG character, they want to get the lighting data. They basically use this little stuffed animal of Stitch to know what his fur would look like in the lighting and how to make him look as real as possible. And honestly, I think it looks pretty good. It's a little small and you can't make out a heck of a lot of detail, but from the silhouette and the coloring, it looks like this Stitch is going to look really cool. Now, once it gets to CG, that might change, because we know studios have made bad decisions in that department before. Coming soon is a movie called Welcome Home Franklin, the newest movie in the Peanuts franchise, which will follow the character of Franklin as he moves into the town where the rest of the Peanuts lives and finds where he belongs and a new group of friends. If you're not familiar with Franklin, he's actually been around for a while. He is the very first black character brought into the world of the Peanuts, and he's actually been around for decades. Although I think it's good they're kind of making a fresh start with the character, because his original introduction into the world of the Peanuts, mildly problematic. A new Ninja Turtles crossover comic has been announced, and the Ninja Turtles are no strangers to crossovers, but this time, they're crossing over with themselves. The cover art depicts Ninja Turtles from pretty much every universe, but the only Ninja Turtles I want to see in this comic are the ones from the live stage show where they ditched their shells for denim jackets. Splinter's song makes me cry every time. Marvel just released a bunch of promotional artwork for the new Fantastic Four movie coming in 2025. They also confirmed the cast of the main four. A lot of people are speculating that the Fantastic Four movie might take place, at least in part, in the 1960s. There's a lot of clues in this artwork that was released. This would be the height of the space race. It would make sense for them to be test pilots going into space and getting their powers from cosmic rays. Now that is obviously a big span of time if it is based in the 60s. How are we going to get them to the modern day? But honestly, with all the time travel and time slipping people can do in the MCU, that is not the span of time I am worried about. The only span of time I'm worried about is the one between Pedro Pascal's birthday and Vanessa Kirby's, because they're supposed to be Sue Storm and Reed Richards, and that is a pretty big age gap for romantic leads. Honestly, with that kind of age gap between Sue Storm and Reed Richards, I'm surprised that Reed isn't being played by Leonardo DiCaprio. A live-action adaptation of the beloved anime Naruto has been announced with the same director as the Marvel film Shang-Chi. And honestly, we all know the joke I'm going to make here. Really? Another live-action adaptation of an anime? When has that ever worked? Now, Naruto was the show that got me into anime, so I am choosing to be naively optimistic about this adaptation. Not to mention, Shang-Chi is one of my favorite MCU films, so I know this director can make something that I love, especially with martial arts involved. Honestly, I can be very negative on this show and make a lot of sarcastic jokes, but there is actually one live-action anime adaptation that is brilliant, and no one talks about it. That is the adaptation of Speed Racer by the Wachowski siblings. This movie is gold, and anyone who denies that is a fool! Sorry. I love this movie! It's how you do an anime adaptation right! It even has a child-animal duo that doesn't annoy the heck out of me. That is a feat in and of itself. Following the verdict of the Jonathan Majors domestic abuse case, a lot of people were wondering how Marvel was going to react to losing their next big bad. Kang was being set up to be the next Thanos, but now no one wants to see a movie with Jonathan Majors in it. So what was Marvel to do? Recast or pivot entirely? And it has been announced that the fifth Avengers film will no longer be Kang Dynasty. So it is looking like they are possibly going to pivot from that character entirely. Some people suspect that Doctor Doom might be the next big bad. There's been some little Easter eggs in the Deadpool trailer that push it that way, and Secret Wars is on the horizon, and Doctor Doom plays a huge role in the Secret Wars event from 2016. My only caveat is that they don't do whatever this was. Netflix's new live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender has premiered, and it is seeing mixed reviews, and I've watched some of it, and I'm getting flashbacks. Another studio fundamentally misunderstanding the lore, the characters, the universe, the world. It's happening again. Ugh. And you're like, oh, it's not that bad. Aang was flying without his glider. You might think that that's a nitpick, but it's actually more important than you think. One, it ruins the impact of that moment where he jumps off the ship and his glider opens. We know he can already fly. The glider has no impact. Also, if this series does well enough and they decide to adapt The Legend of Korra as well, Aang flying ruins the best Legend of Korra villain's whole thing. If you don't know, there is a villainous airbender named Zahir in The Legend of Korra, and his whole goal is to gain the ability to fly, something only one other person has done. Even avatars cannot fly without some sort of device that aids them, and now that we see Aang just willy-nilly flying without his glider, Zahir's whole shtick goes down the tubes. And he's like the best villain from both series. Okay? Because it's happening again! In Funko Pop news, Duncan has teamed up with Funko to allow you to pop yourself wearing the same outfit that was worn by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in their hilarious Super Bowl ad. And I'm sorry, I can't get past the Avatar thing. I need a minute. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'd like to take a moment to talk to you all about the future of this show. I've really enjoyed making these last 3 episodes, and you may have noticed in this episode, I did a lot more commentary and not just jokes, and that's probably what I'm going to be doing moving forward. But I really want to know, what do you all want me to talk about? What subjects do you find interesting? If you see some sort of news story about something going on in pop culture or the geek world, send it to me. My DMs are open. Put it in the comments below. I would love to talk about what you want to hear about. And now, a word from our sponsors. Hi. Once again, we don't actually have a sponsor for this episode. You see, the combined views of the last 2 episodes was only about 10 people, and that doesn't exactly get the sponsors clamoring to team up with you. However, I will take this time to talk about another project of mine called GFGS. GFGS is a fan club and merch line that stands for God's First, Geeks Second. We cater to those Christian geeks out there who want to show off their geekiness and their faith all in one. In the fan club, there's an exclusive Discord, exclusive content, as well as discounts on all GFGS merchandise and access to exclusive GFGS merchandise on our website. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, head over to godsfirstgeeksecond.com to check out the fan club and our merch. The fan club starts at a base membership of $5 a month, which gets you access to the Discord server and the exclusive content and the discounts on merchandise, and the $10 a month premium membership gets you a free gift every month. So thank you for listening to this sponsorship, and if there are any real sponsors out there that want to give me money, or heck, just merchandise to promote your stuff, or maybe a coupon code and a commission, let me know. My DMs are always open. Back to the program. I think it's time to get to our special guest, Camtoonist. This interview was particularly fun to film, so let's get to it. So tonight's guest is someone particularly special because he's not just a person, he's also a cartoon. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Camtoonist. How you doing tonight?
Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing well.
That is so cool to be talking to a cartoon character like this. So tell me, what's it like in the cartoon world?
Well, it's pretty good. Not much going to, there's um a lot less lighting than I would imagine. Like lighting's all over the place here. We're still working on unions for tunes down here. It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, I gotta imagine it's gotta be hard to form a union of imaginary characters.
Yeah, I'll let you believe that.
All right. So as you can see, I'm talking to a animated avatar, and Camtoonist is known for making these amazing videos, just beautifully rendered animations with his little character here, but also a Mario, and I believe there was a SpongeBob one, and any pop culture that pops into the zeitgeist of society, he will find some way to incorporate it into his videos. But I'd like to actually get to know the man behind the pixels, and that is Cam. What's up,
Hello,
Cam? A
hello.
very rare actual face sighting.
You found me. You found a holographic Camtoonist. Congratulations.
And I love that you're wearing the exact same outfit as your avatar.
I kind of have to stay on brand.
I remember when we met a couple years ago at Indiana Comic Con because we were both there.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, I was there for a work trip, and he's like, "Hey, let's get together. Let's hang out in person." And he was wearing that shirt. He's like, "I wanted to make it easy to find you," but that's cool
Yes.
that. So, what came first, the shirt on you or the shirt on your character?
So that's a good question. It's kind of a middle ground. So I've had a shirt that's very similar to this, a little bit darker. Doesn't have the teal or overtone, the baby blue overtones. But I like that color enough to where when I was creating characters, and I've had multiple versions of my character, I settled on this shirt kind of design, and then I'm like, okay, well now I have to if I'm gonna do like cons and do stuff that's gonna involve me as a person. I need to find it. So I actually had a custom made, this specific one. So this rarely leaves the house.
That is awesome. And so, how did you get started in animation? Because you've obviously very far along. You make really, I mean, just beautifully rendered content. Where did you
Thank you.
start?
Pretty much where everybody starts in this field, bored and wanting to draw. I started in high school where we had periods just called like study hall, where you didn't have a class, it was just for you to work on your homework. I was fortunate enough where I was able to get by with some of my classes, so I had a lot of free time. And one of the my first memories was pulling out a old strategy guide of a Pokemon game and just drawing from the pictures that I saw, and that's where I got my start. And then it just kind of led into my love of art.
That's really cool. And so, then what made you want to bring that into TikTok?
Well, that was because I wanted to learn animation. After college, I had just finished with a degree in just painting. After two times, I was rejected in my university's animation program. So as soon as after I graduated, I decided, you know what? No time like now. So I picked up the program I use now, Blender. Um, and about when TikTok came around, I'm like, well, I've been doing this 3D. I've gotten a good feel for it. I've never done animation yet. And so TikTok was a great field for allowing me to make short videos that I can make quickly enough, but still be successful enough, or at least
Mhm.
be shown to enough people where I can still get my footing. So it's just a great way for me just to kind of teach myself, these techniques in what worked and what didn't work in animation. So it really came to me at a perfect time in my life where I needed that push to get into it.
Man, I feel like a lot of people have that similar story with TikTok where they wanted to do something and they didn't quite
Hmm.
know what. And then TikTok really scratched that itch of like, well, you can
Yes.
make 30-second videos and that's what everyone's doing on here. So, like, it fits
Hmm.
in.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, what has been some of the stuff you've learned along the way on this whole TikTok and social media journey? Because obviously you've expanded, you do streaming as your character in kind of a
Hmm.
VTuber style. What's
Yeah.
kind of some of the coolest things you've learned in that?
Honestly, just the idea of how to animate altogether. But I've gotten to just learn the medium, learn what works, learn from amazing other animators I would in my wildest dreams never get a chance to meet without the start. It just really taught me what what could be possible. It was able to get me jobs that I have now through just being able to have something to show people what I've done. It's really just been an amazing uh, what's the term, diving board
Mhm.
into the world of the career that I've always wanted to have.
Yeah, it seems like it's a great portfolio builder.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know
Yes.
I've had kind of a similar success with being able to like show, hey, this is what I've done on, on my own.
Yes.
hire me for something else.
Yeah, yeah. It's always good to have a little twerking plankton in your pocket whenever you want to meet studio heads.
I know. So that twerking plankton, the funny thing about that, even though it is an absurd concept and idea,
Hmm.
your renders on those are fantastic. How long does it take you to dial in the look? Because like the shading on the butt cheeks was like
Of
perfect.
course. Of course. It really does depend on this. It's a mixture of trial and error and just dumb luck sometimes. When it comes to setting up your lights, there is art to it, but once in a while you just get lucky and get that perfect just sequence of lighting and shadows and stuff that just makes it look how you want it to. Honestly, I mean, what really goes into the most time of 3D animation is once you're done animating and setting all the lights, the computer has to make every frame of that and calculate all the lighting for that. That really takes up probably 60% of the time it takes of the final product.
Wow. I would have thought the animation was the majority of it. Are you hand animating everything, or are you using pre-built cycles, or is it a mixture of both?
It's actually so the animation I do from scratch. It's
Wow.
in all the characters I do. I have not, yeah, in my TikToks, I don't think I've used a pre-made one. I've always wanted to make my own because I always viewed myself as a 3D artist first, 3D animator
Mhm.
second. So I've always wanted to put more of a focus on how it looks as a character of like the detail, the designs themselves over how they look, but it's a nice marriage between the two.
Yeah. And you've also your little avatar has gone through a lot of changes themselves. Uh,
Yes.
I think at least since I've been following you, at least three, maybe four. And they're so wildly different in style.
Mm,
What
yes.
inspires the change in design for your avatar?
It changes each time. It's mostly a feeling of wanting to see how far I've gone in each process. Um, I when I started with my first one, I believe the one I'm on right now, you've said about three or four. The one I'm on now, I believe, is number seven.
Wow.
Um, yeah. And I pretty much settled into an identity where I kind of want to go. I always went between a more realistic style to a more Pixar style. It changes between, how a certain one is perceived, how one I kind of look at over the years. The one I actually have now was very reminiscent to a drawing that a very good friend of mine actually did as a nice little gesture that I love so much. I wanted to incorporate it more into. Her name is ZobeeBop. She's also in TikTok. Very good friend of mine. And yeah, as soon as she drew the character, I'm like, that's it. That's what I want the face of what I am now to be. But I've leaned more into the more cartoony stylistic style. Um, I've was just it's just more of what I've been influenced by and more what I want my look or what I want to achieve in my art ultimately.
What like developments in animation, because creators are really and big studios are really playing with style and stylization a lot with movies like TMNT and Into the Spider-Verse and even like
Yeah.
Mitchell's versus the Machines. Are you
Hmm.
excited to see this development in animation where they're really focusing on artist first sort of content?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely love every single one of those films you mentioned. I feel like we as in animation, we had hit kind of the point of a wall of okay, we've made it look as close to real life as we can. Cool, let's pivot. Let's have more fun with it. And I really like how to interpret 2D animation um, techniques and mechanics into 3D. One of my favorite looking stylistic is actually we mentioned Spider-Verse, but also some of the other Sony movies like Hotel Transylvania and Collided with
Yeah.
Enchanted Meatballs. What they're able to accomplish with just very gesture drawings and poses, and very stretchy like move body mechanics, is something I've it has always been kind of like the peak of what I want to accomplish.
Yeah, because a lot of animation, I mean, I'd say going on from the Pixar's early days to, maybe the last five
Hmm.
years, it's always been let's get as realistic, fluid motion. When you watch Frozen, you can see Elsa taking in
Hmm.
breaths before each line. She's like breathing, and you can see, all
Hmm.
these little details.
Yeah.
But then I love the Hotel Transylvania movies, at least the first three. The first three are just
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
spectacular.
yeah.
And the way they draw to
Hmm.
poses, and the way that they used to do like Looney Tunes. You didn't
Yes,
draw to make Bugs Bunny move as
exactly.
fluidly as possible. You drew into poses and then you squished and stretched
Hmm.
into those. And so I adore the Hotel Transylvania movies, and I'm gonna have to rewatch them now that you've brought them back to my remembrance.
Yeah, so I think there's like for a while we were kind of at an arms race of like how far can we push the technology, but now that we've kind of subsided and hit that ceiling, I'm glad that we have, we still have people that still are in that style, but I'm glad that we now have the freedom of artists that are able to do whatever they want stylistically now. And so I'm glad there are both sides, and pretty much allows us for as much expression as we can now in 3D animation. I find that very exciting.
That's awesome. I didn't realize I say that's awesome after like every time someone's talking. I realize I should just go into the next question. I've been editing these now, and like I used to edit the interviews I used to do for my day job, and it
Hmm.
would always be that's awesome, that's cool, wow. It's like
Yeah,
it's a way to punctuate it so that my own brain can move on to the next thing. But it's like
yeah.
no, just move on to the next thing. Anyway, so thank you for being on tonight and sharing your story and talking about animation. And I want to give you this opportunity to talk about, your socials and any projects you have coming up and just pitch yourself a little bit.
Yeah, well, I make it easy for people. I'm Camtoonist everywhere. You search it, you'll be able to find me. Personally, I don't have a lot of big stuff going on besides gigs that I've worked for. I'm working for a couple of YouTubers at the moment. They've got some fun projects going on. But besides that, just I if I can just tell the audience, I hope that in one way or another I've made anybody smile just at looking at my stuff. So if I do that, then that's good enough for me.
Well said, man. Well, thank you again for being on tonight and look forward to seeing your future content, man. And I'll definitely be linking all your stuff in the description below. And have a wonderful night, man.
Thank you to you as well.
I want to thank Camtoonist one more time for being on the show. It was a great interview. I had a lot of fun filming it. And if you want to learn more about him and follow him on the socials, head to the description below. It's just that easy. Everything's in the description below. And with that, we call it a night. Unfortunately, there is no musical guest this week because I realized I'm not mutuals with a lot of musicians, and I don't want to start repeating musical guests this soon. So I'm going to ask you all, let me know, what musicians do you want to see on this show? I want to focus on people who make kind of geeky music, whether it's like hardcore covers of Disney songs or they make covers of video game soundtracks like Neon Cal does. Let me know in the comments below so I can reach out to them and be like, hey, people want to see you on this show. Or just send this video directly to them. Let them know I'd love to have them on. And really what it entails is I just take one of their music videos and slap it on the end of the video because I don't have a real studio to film in. This is a late night talk show style podcast. Maybe someday I'll have a real little studio that I could film this in front of a beautiful cityscape backdrop that's either green screen or real, and actually have a little stage for comedy acts and musical guests. But until then, I'm going to keep trucking in front of the wall of geekery and my black shower curtain over here, and you guys stay awesome and keep watching.